All right, everyone, welcome here. This time with the glasses on because sitting for a very long time in front of my screen and with all these lights, it's pretty whack. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty whack. So first of all, I'm going to. Can I put on my light here? No, we can't. Yes, I can. All right. So this is basically probably going to be the last lesson of the JSON API series, right? We have, I think, with this episode, we're gonna have 22 episodes. That's actually a lot. And like I said, always, guys, I'm trying to make this as build-up-ish possible without being too complicated and also not being too simplified. There's a lot of room for you guys to basically experiment, right? There's a lot of gaps here and there where you can basically add stuff we already did for some endpoint. You can add it to other endpoints yourself, right? Because I can basically spend each in this episode, in this chapter, I can spend it hundreds and hours and hours and hundreds of hours. But the question is, what do you learn, right? Now you can see how I do things. We followed. You can code along. You have a lot of knowledge, and it's now time for you to basically experiment and be creative with it. It's very important because that's how you're going to grow, right? Of course, you need to have some context, which you have 22 episodes, right? And but if, and it's very important, but if there is missing, if there is something you want to know more about, let me know in the feedback, because I'm going to do updates, right? And you already paid a decent amount of money, and I don't want to be a quick and easy cash grab, which it is not. I spend hours and hours and hours to make this. But if you think there's something missing, I'm happy to add an episode. It is what it is. Okay, so this episode we're gonna do some Docker stuff. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna build that with Docker, right? And you could say, yeah, but how do we deploy that? But listen, you're gonna see, right? The most important thing is making your Docker file. I already made it. Why? Because it's easy, right? I'm not a DevOps. I don't care about DevOps. I don't give a shit about Docker. I just don't care, right? The only thing what we're going to do is we're going to make a Docker file, right? And we're going to specify from, which is basically an image. And you have the Alpine images with different Docker different Golang versions. You have the from scratch images where you can just copy paste a binary. There's a lot of options, but I think this is the most generic one. I like this one because you can build it. You can do your Go mods and it will verify everything. Because if you make a binary and CP and copy it over to from scratch thingy, you did not really have some kind of a CI going. But hey, that's just my opinion. So you specify the image, which is basically the Golang 1.20.3 Alpine image, right? Then you're going to specify a working dir app. You could make this directory can be anything you want. Then you're going to basically copy your mod file over to the, or your mod file and your GoSum over to your app directory, right? And then you're going to run the Go mod download, right? You're going to run that in your container. It's going to fetch all the dependencies, try to install them, right? What you're going to do then is basically copy the entire folder structure over to your app folder, to this work there, right? You're going to copy the whole shebang. And then you're just going to do a go build -o main. You're going to expose a port. And this is going to be your entry point. It's that easy, right? And nothing more like it. So basically what you're going to do is what I did in a make file here, right? I have a make file. And I have a Docker thingy, right? And what it does is basically just these two commands here. You do a Docker build, right? You're going to do a Docker build -t. API is the name of our image, of our Docker container, right? And then we do a Docker run -p, which basically means port. You're going to link your 3000 to your 3000. And then you're going to call this API because that's how you named your Docker container, right? And that's it, right? So if you want to build that to Docker, the only thing you need to do is say make Docker, right? Press enter. It's going to do some shenanigans. It's already cached with me. It's going to take some longer time with you. And it's running. That's the only thing it is, right? And you can also configure your ports and in Docker. Check it out. Ask ChatGPT. Like I said before, you could say, but Anthony, why don't you teach us that? But I don't know it myself. I just yeah, I never use it most of the time. If I would do it like this, right? If I want to deploy this, I just SSH into my DigitalOcean, and I'm gonna basically clone my project onto my DigitalOcean with my Git. Just clone it. I'm gonna cd into that, and I'm gonna do a Docker run, and that's it. I'm gonna do a make Docker, and that's how I deploy my projects personally. That's how I did it all my life, and I never have a problem. I have a crypto app running. Don't get scammed. It's a crypto app, and it's running for years. Just like that. Just what I do right now. Don't search it too far. You know what I mean? People want to be, yeah. And then you have just basically a logging in your Docker container, and you can check the logs. And if you want to have some errors, some dashboard or something, you can hook it up to Prometheus, or you can hook it up to Datadog or something, which does everything for you. And there are a lot of tools which you can hook into, and yeah. You need to keep it lean and mean. It's very important. I'm always saying this. People in programming, people tend to be a fanboy of complex tools, which are basically something we don't want to deal with. We don't want to deal with that. The only thing we want to deal with is writing code, solving solutions, and build stuff and make sure stuff happens. And I just cd into my DigitalOcean, Git clone it, cd into my repo, and press type doc and type make Docker, and it's fine. And most of the time I don't run it at Docker. I just run it like this, just make run, right? I just do a make run, or basically I just build it, and then because if you make run, it's building it also, right? So now it's built, and now I do this like /bin API, boom, minus on a screen. You know, screen in terminal, a screen, and put it in a screen, and call it a day. That's how I do things. That's how I did it, and it works perfectly fine for me. Because if you're gonna work at these companies, you're not gonna do that. Most of the time, everything is set up with Jenkins, where Jenkins will load the Docker file from the GitHub repo automatically, and it will build everything for you. You're gonna have a nice Jenkins UI, which you can just press a button to deploy your service on staging, and the DevOps team will deploy it on production. That's how it's going to work. That's how it works for 10 years with me. I don't think it's going to be different as of today, right? It's the same. Just right now at trading Light, it's the same thing. I build stuff, and I specify to the guy that's responsible for deploying, right? Guy with a lot of the DevOps guy. I just say, hey, yo, this is my app. This is how it's going to work. It needs to communicate with this. It needs to have a MongoDB. It needs to have this, that, yada, 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 yada. It's probably going to use 8 gigs of RAM or something. That's what I need. Can you deploy that? And he's asking me some questions. Which environment variables do you need to have? That's why we put that in the README, and that's it. You are most of the time not going to do it. And if you like, for example, this one as a toy project, guys, don't make it complex. You know what I mean? We are a single entity, right? We don't want to spend AWS. I hate AWS. I don't want to spend AWS credits with all this automatic scaling. I don't give a shit, right? I just want a cheap DigitalOcean server. Git clone it. Make run. Take the money and sip margaritas on the beach. If I was basically a Docker seller, or if I was somebody that's selling a course for DevOps, I would probably say something else, of course, because it's his job, right? His job is a DevOps, so he knows everything about configuration and Kubernetes and all, and Terraform and all that stuff. But that's not your cup of tea. You make things. You are an engineer. You build things. You solve things, and that's it, right? All right, there's one thing actually I want to do here, guys, real quick. If you do a make, let me do a make seed right now, and let me do a make test here. we have a failure. And the failure is coming from the hotel reservation API. Yes, I know that. But what is failing here? Test admin get bookings, right? I want to quickly... it's probably the booking. How many tests do we have, actually? Let me see. API. The user handler test. We have some tests. Is this one? Test admin get bookings, right? Is this beautiful beast? Let me run this test, right? Boom, chakalak. Problematic problem. Unexpected status unauthorized, but got 5. Oh yeah, I think. No, it's not. We get status 500 here. Pretty sure these tests were working beforehand, but we did some configuration. And yeah. Now we fucked, of course. Yeah, now we're going to do some debug session, which is actually worth a lot of value, right? And we have 20 minutes. We have actually as long as we want, right? But hey, so what do we see here? We got an unexpected status. We expected status unauthorized, but we got 5,000, right? And that's the booking handler test. It's this one, right? So it's basically this test. Yeah, okay, perfectly fine. We are on track. Everything is, the stars are aligned, the planets is perfectly aligned with true north. It's a 500 here. Wait, that's actually true, right? Test non-admin cannot access the booking. So if I return here, right, it's going to test if we have the user ID, it's going to be the same thing, yada, yada, yada. That's good. That's actually good news. So basically everything from here to here is working. And that's actually very important because this basically tests if a non-admin can access the booking, which he actually can't, right? Because he's getting a status 500 instead of an unauthorized, which is not what we want, but it's better than allowing him access, right? Still funny me with my glasses on, to be honest, but hey. All right, so I think the problem is going to be from we access. Oh man, create token from user, yada yada yada. Handle get bookings. This one is it, right? So it's going to be here. It's going to be from the middleware. That's what we know. It's coming from the middleware. How do we out middleware, out handler? No. Do we have middleware? How did we name all of this? TypeScript DB bin API user handler room helpers GPT maybe. Wait, I think this is add unauthorized, so that's fine. This is add unauthorized where the token expired. This is unauthorized, so we turning this one is probably validate token is probably can I do a panic here? Right? So there's a little of debugging. How I debug is a very old school, right? I try to spot it. And so my thinking process, right? I'm gonna tell you my thinking process here, right? Because I have a weird thinking process. I'm not the smartest, but it works. So basically, we know here that we are getting, it's actually a very important lesson, I'm gonna lie. Let me do this make test again. Now that we remove this thing, it's gonna work out once again, right? So we know that we expected a status unauthorized, right? But we got a 500. So that basically means that if I'm right, I'm thinking about it should be in the middleware, which is going to be the GBT authentication, right? Because that's what we're testing, right? We are testing if an admin that is basically no admin has access. So it could be at two places. I'm checking right now in the GBT authentication, and I'm checking at add unauthorized. We return it here. We don't return it here, right? So this could be just a status 500, right? That's going to be a 500 because that's, you will see. This is going to return a status unauthorized. This is going to return a status unauthorized. So here is no unauthorized. So that could be a 500. So let's see what validate token returns, right? It's returning an unauthorized. So actually, to be honest, it's returning an unauthorized here, right? So that could not be the case. I thought it could be the case, but now we know that it isn't because we went a little bit deeper. So if you go back to out handler, what I want to do basically, what I first want to do, but not anymore because where is this thing actually? GBT go, that's the thing, right? So what I want to do is basically this here. This error. I want to do a panic here to see if we actually triggered this error, right? And then I want to do a make test and see if we triggered it, right? So we don't trigger it, right? But we already knew this because we went into validate token and we're getting add unauthorized. The next thing what we could do is basically check where we set the user ID. And I have no fucking clue where we do that. It's probably in the out handler here. Invalid credentials. Handle authenticate. GBT secret, that's perfectly fine. How is that? Failed to sign here. It's going to be empty token string, doesn't matter. To be honest, to spot this more quickly, we can go to main. API error handler. Let's go to there, right? Because this is going to be a status internal server error. In this case, this API error. So let us do here a panic of R, right? Make test and see what the panic is going to be. There is no fucking panic. That's weird. Do we actually have in our tests these error handlers? Because oh boy. That's the app, right? Can we do app? How do we do that in main actually? Let me see. It's the config. Can we do this with config also here? Fiber.config, error handler, error handler. What I want to do is I'm going to set the error handler to the app also in test here to see if that's going to make difference. Yes, it is. So we already fixed it, right? So what's the problem? The problem is that we basically rely heavily on the API error handler, right? Where is it? Errors.go, right? This error handler is very important because why? Because based on what kind of error is being returned by our handlers, we are going to check what we need to do, right? If we know if it's an error that we provided, it's going to check the status code and everything is going to be perfectly fine. And if we don't, it's going to just return an internal server error. Well, the thing is that we need to set this error handler also in our tests. Otherwise, we are not going to execute this code. So we cannot, if we cannot execute it, if it's not configured in our tests also, then it's going to return a 500, and then we cannot basically assert on the expected status, which is going to be a not authorized one, right? So that's the thing. You see that sometimes debugging stuff, keep your head calm and try to basically minimize the iterations you need to do to find the problem, right? Yeah, so that's basically it, to be honest, right? So very important, guys, if you want to make more tests, take this in mind, that you basically set your error handler in your apps, right? In your apps, that you configure your error handler in your app variables, right? That's it. Cool. Yeah, I think that's it. Let me know if there is something more. I'm happy to resolve that. Like I said, I'm happy to resolve that. It's 22 episodes. Hey, I love to listen, my goal is to make the best product ever, right? And the only way I can make a good product is by your feedback, right? And your feedback does not always need to be perfectly fine, right? Because I know that, right? I'm also just a human. I've never made a course in my life. I just try to be very open and very to the point. How it's gonna be, because people are making a lot of things way too complex, and that's actually not true, right? And I'm also going to record very soon, actually, to be honest, maybe by the end of the week, but by the end of the week, who knows what time frame you're looking at. Most of the time, when you look in this video, it will already be up. But I'm going to show you why complexity can basically not get you hired. And it's a real world story that I actually encountered applying for the job as a Golang engineer. And not so long ago, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, I was already very good at Golang. I was very good. I was very confident. And they did not hire me. I made a mistake. And you're going to see the project, because I still have it on my GitHub. I'm going to tell you the story, and you're going to learn something from that also, right? Complexity is most of the time not good. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next chapter, lesson, whatever. Bye-bye.